Good evening, all. Hopefully, you can hear me all right, and the sound's coming through okay. Yeah, there was no music at the starting screen. Unfortunately, it wasn't quite playing as much as it should have done. So, rather than try and randomly fix it and take more time, I thought I'd just come on screen rather. Good evening to Shadow Girl, Citizen Scott, Drop Joggit, Socially Confused. Hope you're all doing well. Yeah, another stream evening. Sorry, I've just realised. Burger Props, good evening. Um, just realised that my phone is right next to the mic, so you might hear that vibrating as we go along. I do apologise. I'll do my best to balance it off, but let's get things kicked off with, in the right way, something of a drink. So, good evening to Stakaragord, to Senif, to Ray Louderbeck. Good to have you all here, and there's a few things I want to run through. Obviously, there was no stream last week. I put a video out in place of that, and it was a little bit spicy, which was good fun. I knew it was going to go out spicy. What I wasn't quite prepared for was people kind of, I don't know, taking it in the wrong way, or not actually. That's not the right. That's not what I meant. What I meant was it was people taking reacting to stuff I didn't say, or just seeing the title, I think, was what was happening, and thinking they knew that I was going to say, and they'd write a comment and they'd leave without actually for watching the video, which is great. Thank you very much for the input to those people who did that, because the comments drove that video quite nicely. So I appreciate it. But yeah, we'll have a look at a little later on at just the sorts of comments and stuff. And of course, I know I don't need to say to anyone that's been here before that me highlighting comments in my own comment section is not an invitation for those people to subsequently be attacked. But if you're new here or you're just lurking or whatever, just a quick reminder that, I highlight them to react to them, not to attack or, embarrass or whatever else. Knee-jerk emotional reaction to a headline on the internet. How strange, lol. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I think what we've been blessed with in here for quite some time is the fact that you know, you guys are good at thinking about things and talking things through and having logical responses, which is not representative of the whole internet. And then all of a sudden, the internet arrives, and yeah, it's like that meme of everyone having a normal discussion and the people coming in and just pooping over everything. It feels a little bit like that. Definitely on that video. So yeah, we'll have a look at some of the comments. And see sort of, what you guys think. But yeah, interesting stuff. Bless them. They do try so very hard to derail the conversation, and at the end of the day, I end up just kind of telling them to go away, I guess. But yeah, we'll have a look in just a moment. Okay, so reasonable watchers unite. Yeah, 100%. So I suppose we could switch across now and just have a quick look. You'll have to ignore all the plug-in stuff on the right, but it might be worth just having a look at what's going on. Bear with me for a second. Good evening, Tom. I just realised that I saluted as you came in, and there was absolutely no point to that because you can't see me at the moment. So let's try this one instead. Okay, there we are then. All right. So, yeah, I just wanted to have a look through at a couple of the comments. And basically, the bottom line, what I was trying to get at in this video was that 323 has a lot of features packed in already, including the cargo elevators, the item banks, the ASOC terminals inside the hangars. They had a lot of stuff to go on. So it's not like they needed to flesh things out with more news. And it's not like persistent hangars was something that people were asking about every time they put up a post or that sort of stuff. So it wasn't like it needed to come. And it turns out that 4 weeks after they announced it, they had their final review where they needed to push it back until a point patch in 3.23. My question was, they had enough content, they knew a review was coming up in 4 weeks. Why would you bother mentioning it and not just leaving it 4 weeks, wait for the review, and give it one way or the other? Unfortunately, you know, there's, as you will see as we go through here, there are lots of comments that don't really kind of make sense. So at the top there, Arthur Romero says, as long as the game is released as a fully playable game, I don't care how long it takes. My issue was not with the time, it was the timing. Slightly different, but there you go. Let's have a look through and see if we can find a couple of the other ones. I only want it in-game when it's working and stable, because having your cool stuff disappearing when things are not working correctly is a pain in the rear. Surely those consoles will allow you to buy back your sub-gear at a price, but for the other lost stuff, it's gone. Whatever that means by Max Flashout. Again, not my issue was not the terminals, because that's not what that we'd known about that for a while, right? And they'd announced that well in advance, and it slipped. I don't have a problem with stuff slipping. I don't have a problem with it will be ready when it's ready and not releasing it until then. So yeah, it was really interesting that we kind of go through this and people just kind of read. It's not like they even watched to see what was said. So, and this is interesting, right? Because I generally tend to be positive. Some could argue that I'm more positive than most as we go through. And, you know, unfortunately, you know, some people just want to come in and have a go. You know, like Single Track 66. As a carpenter with many years' experience, I'm frequently asked by contractors and clients for estimates. I always have a very good idea as to how long it's going to take me, but always add a few days to the estimate. Precisely. And it's more about kind of, I don't know, matching what's like expectation and reality, right? So yeah, there's lots of silliness in there and lots of general stuff that didn't need to happen. But I think this is one of the things, is that if you ever say anything good about Star Citizen, you're a white knight, you're a dreamer, you're falling for the scam, blah blah blah. And if you ever say anything negative about Star Citizen, that you kind of you know, you're a hater, you're salty, you're all that sort of stuff, right? And it doesn't leave much room for nuance in discussion. Why do I bring this up? Well, there's kind of a reason that I wanted to bring this up, and it's sort of the reason for it's what I wanted to talk about in the stream. First off, good evening to Firebrand Genomo. Good to see you, Edison. Good to see you, buddy. Even though you're at work, so I get that. Announcing before the final review spices things up, and it keeps us on our toes. Absolutely that. And hey, if they just added it and did it on release, that would have been incredible extra, given all the other things that there's in 321. Sorry, 323. So yeah, it's one of those things. It's the balance exactly. It's on them for setting unrealistic implementations, but on backers for not managing our own. 100%. And I think when people react just because something has slipped, like everyone was pointing out, or a lot of people were pointing out in the comments, they say that it's a target, it's never a promise, and I agree with that 100%. And you know, when people say, "Oh, I really wanted this," and that sort of stuff, it's like, yes, and there are lots of things that we've been waiting a long time for. Star Map, get that as well. But you know, like you say, exactly that. It's a 50-50 split. We've got to be careful. We actually have to take CIG at face value and say, okay, they're saying that it's a target. They say that it's, you know, that it's not a promise, that things are always subject to slipping. Fine. But then CIG can't get upset when we take it at face value, and then it's not the thing. So they say, you know, like this, for example, this is being targeted for 323. And it's like, yeah, but you could have done that after their final review. And then you could have done that. And all you did was, all they could have added was, this is in a point patch. Because all that people will see from it is slippage. And if you're not up like we are, and you're not keeping, engaged with the news and the goings on of Star Citizen, then yeah. And the reason that I want to come onto this, I was having a very interesting conversation just before the stream with someone, you know who you are, and the conversation went something like this, and it's something I ask to every single one of you and invite you to comment about, because I think it's really interesting. Not because it drives engagement, although it does that too, I'm not going to lie. This is, I think, a really good indication of where you are with this project, right? And the question is this: what would CIG need to do or not do to make you think that this project is no longer viable? What would have to happen for you to stop supporting it and stop being interested in it as a game? Right? And this is something I think is really important. And the reason is this, right? If you're having a conversation about something and someone's trying to tell you it's okay, if they don't have that point, if they don't have a point where they go, do you know what, I'm going to stop supporting this now, then it kind of really devalues their viewpoint, because you know what they're going to say. They're always going to say that no matter what happens with CIG, the building could be burning down, and it would literally be, this is fine, everything is fine. The same thing with the haters, right? The people that want to crap all over it. Sell out to EA is a really good example socially. Yeah, I think most of us would quit on that front. But it's like the haters. At what point would a hater have to say, do you know what? I was wrong, it's not a scam. What would CIG have to do to get them to that point? Right? Because otherwise it's the same thing for them. If all they're going to say is this game is a scam, it's just fleecing people, you're just giving him money, it's a Ponzi scheme, whatever it is they're saying now. I forget. They used to say it was vaporware, but when it became apparent that it's not vaporware, they just shut up. I think that's kind of the question, right? Is if a troll is always saying it's a scam, it's not good, it's this, it's that, it's the other thing, and they're never going to be convinced, again, their viewpoint is almost worthless on that front, because they're always going to say that, no matter what happens. There's no point at which they're going to say anything else. So we know what you're going to say. So shut up. So yeah, I think that's the point, right? Is people have to have this point where they go, okay, it's a line in the sand, and that doesn't mean people can't change their mind. That doesn't mean that those things can't happen. But it's kind of key, because it's key to what I'm going to talk about next. So even if you don't respond to that, and you don't, or you take some time to think about it, for me, it's kind of have this in the back of your mind as we talk through, because it's okay to have peaks and troughs with a game. It's okay to have times where it's like, it's absolutely 100% the best game on the planet. It's the best game for me. I love it even at this stage, and I've had those moments. And some of them have lasted for a very, very long time. And then other times, I find it incredibly frustrating. I see less of what the game is going to be. I see more of the mountain that they have to climb. I see more of the mess that the current state of the PTU is in, or PU, sorry, is in. And I will admit quite freely at the moment that I'm in a trough. So this isn't me kind of deciding that the game's pants and that I was wrong and all these sorts of stuff. It's okay to have these peaks and troughs where you do and don't support it. And this is the really important thing with, for me, communicating with you guys. It's really important for me to be honest with you, right? I'm not going to be dishonest. I know some people are in it for clicks. The worst you will get out of me ever is a little bit of a clickbait title, a little bit of a clickbait thumbnail, but I promise behind that are some original thoughts I will be able to at least link into why I gave you that title or that thumbnail. I'm not just in it for the views, and this is why I know I'm never going to be a big time YouTuber, right? It's just not going to happen because I'm not willing to play the algorithms game like that. And I'm good with that. It's fine. I'm not expecting anything to change. I'd much rather do exactly what we've been doing up until now with Stack, with Edison, with Citizen Scott, with Jodomo, with Dropped, with all those people. We have built a nice little community who play games. We go and do the Overdrive Initiative stuff. We have a lot of fun doing the game, playing the game with a group of us. I think there were 13 of us a week or so ago doing Overdrive all at the same time, which is great. All on the Discord. Link to that's in the description if you're not yet part of it, but you want to be part of it. We're spending Wednesday and Friday evenings catching everyone up with Overdrive in preparation for 323. If you're here, you are more than welcome on the Discord. More than welcome to do that. So yeah, it's part of that being honest with you, and part of that always telling you what I think is that I have to acknowledge that sometimes I'm going to have pizza troughs. Sometimes I'm going to be really positive when other people want me to be negative. Sometimes I'm going to be a little bit negative when I want to be positive. And that's kind of why I'm where I am at the minute, right? Is I still love this game, 100%. But where I am right now is... I tried to work this into the title, but I didn't, so God, dash gone it, I'm going to fit it in now. Is 4 is not a quarter of 12. We're 4 months in to this year, right? As of 2 days from now, we're 4 months in. Still no patch. And I get it, slippage. I get it, delays. I get it, targeted. I get it. They've got some bull... I tried to find it. I couldn't. If someone wants to find it, then fine. But there's some bullcrap rule about, oh, it's only got to make it to the PTU, but it hasn't even made it to the PTU. It's in the ePTU. It's not even there yet, and we're still driving on. And I genuinely had the hope at the beginning of this year that this was going to change slightly now that we were moving people across. When they announced at the end of last year what was going to be in 323, everyone sat there and went, oh my God, this patch is going to be immense. There are so many features. This is a ridiculous shift in development. And I think all of us would have taken maybe a third less of those features to have the patch out on time and to feel like we were finally hitting deadlines. So not just were they giving us the features that we wanted, but they were doing it in a more timely fashion. Or, and I'd be quite happy with this, for them to turn around and go, do you know what, actually we're going to do 3 patches a year. But they're going to be the size of 323. Because if you do that, that's one... If you do 1 less patch a year, that's an entire cycle of revisions, of reviews, of meetings, of adjustments, of changes, of fine-tuning, that teams could be better focusing on just delivering stuff rather than doing that all the time. And I think, looking at it now, yes, of course, we have to accept that things are being delayed. I get that. Things are just a target. They're not a promise. 100%. In the same vein, CIG could really do with acknowledging they're not hitting the quarterly releases. They're not doing it. And time will only tell what happens for the rest of this year, whether or not we get a really skinny patch just for them to catch up, or whether things are going to slow down. So again, it's not that I hate anything. It's not that I'm changing my stance on the game. It's just sometimes it's worth asking these questions and having these debate with a group of people that you know who are actually going to provide you answers once we've all had the regular joke of, you know, delays, lol, sandworm, when, gib, and all that sort of stuff. And that's important. So very quickly, I asked a little while ago, what would CIG have to do or not do to get you to stop backing and supporting the project? I mean supporting, I don't mean backing, because I haven't put money into the game for quite some time. But, you know, let's have a read through there. So, Firebrand says, communication has always been CIG's struggle point, but we also have to manage our expectations, knowing it's an immensely complex project in development. Yep, agreed 100%. And this goes to what I said a little while ago about iterative development. They know what they want to achieve. They don't know how they want to get there because it's stuff that hasn't happened before. So it's not like games have done this plenty of times. So we just got to copy what other guys did, or we just get someone from the studio that did that and they can tell the rest of us how it works because no one's done it yet. And that's not easy. So yeah. Shadow Girl says, if there's no point at which people are willing to change their view, then they're the scam, not the game. Hot take, but I'm behind it 100%. Walk away, totally. Monthly subscription fee, says Scott, 100%. And we talked about this, I think, a couple of streams ago, is, okay, if not monthly subscription fees, then what? Because, of course, with dynamic servers, lots of servers have to spin up, and that's going to cost. But we had that conversation, and I think that was kind of a really interesting point. But it's great. I mean, you don't have to have an alternative when you're drawing a line in the sand, right? You can just say, I don't want to pay monthly subscription fees, and if that's what you need, I'm out. And that's a perfectly reasonable point of view to have. Firebrand says, CIG offer a very transparent operation of development, but they do often miscommunicate a lot of info. But as I said, it is up to us to manage our expectations also. 100%. At some point, if you've got a company with a long history of miscommunicating, turning around and saying, but they promised, they said, it's like, well, hang on, you know they miscommunicate. We know they miscommunicate. Maybe we need to kind of calm down a little about when it happens. Yeah. Either that or I'm mad, therefore I'm right, says Scott. Yep, 100%. Stikara says, the one thing that grits on me is the excuse they give for the lack of updates to the roadmap. The excuse is rubbish, and anyone in development absolutely knows it. Yeah, I think it's... I take it the excuse you're talking about is the reaction from the community. Is that what you mean, Stack? I'll come back to that in just a second, mate, because I'm a fair way up the comments. Arcade Alchemist, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us. I've only just seen you come into the chat. That's how far back I am, so I will catch up. The project is on the right direction. I only stream on Rumble. It's more personal than the community, and Rumble are less toxic. Absolutely. Drop says, Badgers, you shoot straight. That's why I have a loyal base. Oh, thank you, mate. I appreciate that. And, that's what I'm going for, is the shooting straight. And you guys know that if I say it, it's what I think, not just because the algorithm demands it of me. So I appreciate that. Helldivers 2 is pretty epic. If we can have drops of respawns from a Kraken, the game would be amazing. You're not the first person to say that they should take some lessons from Helldivers. Yeah, Helldivers is such a good game. I do really enjoy that. It's just a shame we can't have community games, or that many community games, when there's only 4 to a squad. But yeah. Citizen Scott says, I can tell you as someone who walks in both worlds that refundians aren't all refundians either. There's plenty of refundians who are totally reasonable people with valid arguments. Yeah, and this is the thing, right? And this is the world over now, is that if people hear someone saying they want a refund, they assume that they're the extreme end of the refundian scale. And if you ever say anything nice about Star Citizen, you are an absolute white knight who sees the world through rose-tinted glasses. And there's no room for nuance in that conversation. And that's why I kind of started off with looking at the video and prompting that question, is that it's useful for everyone to be somewhere in the middle. And actually, those two extremes, they're kind of pointless because they're never going to change their mind. So, and you can roll that out to pretty much any point of view, not just about games. That applies to pretty much everything on the planet. Put Asmongold's face on the thumb, though, says Confused. Farm it all. I mean, no. I feel like you guys have got enough to deal with this, right? You don't need Asmongold's mug on there as well. You guys have been through enough, right? 7 months in sitcom in like a week or two, says Scott. Really? Is that how long? Surely not. Is that how long it's been? Holy moly. What I don't like is when the project staff is marketing heavy when the game is in development. Yeah, I think, I don't know how true this is or not, but I haven't seen any figures yet on how much of it is actually driven by marketing. Clearly some decisions have to be marketable but that doesn't mean that it's marketing driving them. I'm not sure. I really am not sure. I know the accepted point of view is that it's all marketing's fault. But CIG did that letter where it's like everyone needs to stop bashing marketing. That's not the case. And if we're taking CIG at face value, don't we need to do that as well? I don't know. So yeah, Bloodsnuck says, with your comment about ePTU and PTU, I think CIG is slowly giving up on that as we have Wave 3 on ePTU. And I fear we will get this patch on the live servers in a few weeks without time in PTU. Possibly, although I attempted to go with Scott on this one. For me, as far as I'm concerned, delivery is live PU, right? The release date of a game is not the day it goes to beta. The release date of the game is not the early access. The release date of the game is when it's available to everybody, right? That's why they say 3 days early. If it's the release date, how can it be early, right? So yeah, that. Firebrand, Parkinson's law, work expands so as to fill the time given. You are not wrong, sir. You are absolutely not wrong on that 100%. I am precisely one of those people. Give me tight deadlines, I will churn out work all day long. Tell me that I've got 3 months, I'll make it take 3 months. That's not slacking, that's the way it works, right? The need for transparency is gone, and we don't know, says Arcade Alchemist. The thing is, we only really need hanger changes and introduction of player-owned homes and crafting. Then focus on feature ships afterwards as just quality of life. There's so much stuff to do, and there's so much stuff that is waiting for server meshing now. I have a feeling the reason we're not hearing anything about Quanta is because until you know how server meshing and the replication is going to work precisely, and that's iterative development, not knowing how it's going to work. You know the effect that you want. You don't know how to get there. You don't know how to do it. So we don't know that precisely yet. That's why we're not hearing about it. There is so much tech waiting for that stuff to happen that they can't. But, you look at the gameplay, hacking, data running. We've got, exploration, science. There's even news crew with the Reliant Mako. You've got base building, you've got refining, you've got boarding, the whole Legionnaire side of that. You've got all that to do. We've got firefighting, we've got damage control, we've got the crafting side, as you rightly point out. There's so much core stuff that needs to happen that we're nowhere near kind of quality of life and stuff. And this is what I keep saying. When people say fix the bugs, it's like, no. We're not at the fix the bugs stage yet. We're the core stuff needs to work, and by work we mean loosely, and then you get everything together, and it's only when you've got everything together you start trying to clean up the code. You don't clean up a house when you're still putting the roof on it, right? Because it's going to be full of dust and crap. Like, the hoovering at that point is utterly pointless, and it's the same thing with bugs. So yeah, and I know you didn't say bugs. I'm not saying that you did, but yeah. Shadow Gal says, if they stop producing content or completely stop communicating to the public, that would be a strong enough red flag. Yeah, at that point, it's pretty much the end of the game anyway, right? If they stop producing content, it's over. I kind of hope that there's a tripwire before that, maybe, that indicates that things are going that way. Or, I don't know, maybe you're one of the people that, you're happy to support something until it's absolutely sure it's dead, and that's absolutely fine as well. No issue with that whatsoever, because that's the whole point of support, right? Is that what's the point in having support if it leaves at the first time sign of trouble? Yeah. So, so just catching up. Arcade Alchemist says, if the backers walk away with the rent and energy and tax, lol, CIG will have to sell to Microsoft. Absolutely not. No, selling to Microsoft. And Microsoft will buy it. Yeah. Drop Yogurt says, I think part of the problem to people who sign up and truly don't understand what they're signing up for. I researched for 2 weeks before backing. Yeah, really interesting that, because I saw the game first in 2013 when I was working for Games Workshop. And I didn't back until 2017, so it's 4 years of watching the project and seeing what was happening. And it was only really when they did the whole video of being on Olisar, Matt, anyone remember Olisar? You remember that place? And then going down to the planet and going to find the I think it was this video, going to find the down javelin that people went, oh, at Sandworm Gate. That was the video that got me in. Yeah. Bloodsuck says, the thing we as a community can do is to hold them accountable for miscommunication and keep pressure on them to do better. Yeah, and I think my reaction to, this is why I kind of mourn the loss of Todd Pappy to whatever he's going to do next, and I hope he has a great time whatever he's going to do next. But I met him at CitizenCon 2019, and I was talking to him, and it was the end of a long day. You could tell all the guys were absolutely exhausted. And you had 30 seconds with each person. And for whatever reason, I kind of gotten ahead of people. So there were 4 or 5 people behind me with no one talking to them. So that's at least, what, 2.5 minutes before they catch me up. And the guy that was stood next to me was still trying to push me on from Top Happy. And I'd started telling him a story about why I was backing. And he actually stopped that staff member and said, no, I want to hear this. So even at the end of a very long day, he could have just gone, ugh, whatever, and just let me be ushered down the line, right? He could have just not intervened. He could have just done nothing, which is the easiest thing to do, and let me move on. And he didn't. He wanted to hear what I was saying, and that, for me, gave me a huge confidence boost that there were people in CIG who really were invested in us and making sure they deliver to us. And he was, my conversation with Top Happy, I could not have come out with more confidence at that point, having chatted to him for just a couple of minutes. That's all it took. So yeah, I'm gutted to hear that he's now left the project. But yeah. So I'm not trying to start another conversation about subs, because we did that a couple of streams ago, and I can make that a subject of a video later on if needs be. But we'll push that down the line. The excuse for the roadmap is that they're working on it, says Stack. So that goes back to the excuse you were talking about. Absolutely. They have a roadmap that is internal. It's just a matter of making it public, a few milestones and deliverables. Yeah, I didn't like the decision that they made to hide stuff. Good evening, Citizen Ninja. Good to see you, bud. I didn't like the decision they made, because the argument they gave was that people are going to be negative when stuff gets missed. And my counter argument to that was, people are always going to be negative about this. There's going to be a certain portion of the community who are always going to lose their crap, and there's nothing we can do about that. That's just who they are, right? That's their thing. I think, the only people that actually suffered out of that, because those people who are negative have not just stopped because they stopped releasing the roadmap. Those people who are negative are now just negative about other stuff. They'll find something else to whinge about. And Spectrum will prove that to you. Go on to Spectrum and look at how not positive it is. It's a cesspit, frankly, of people not being negative. And not even, like Bloodsnack says, it's absolutely our responsibility and our right to hold them accountable. But there is a way and mean of doing that, right? And if you got that dude in the office or at your place of work who just walks in, oh, it's crap, and just whinges and doesn't try to solve anything or doesn't tell anyone how things could be made better, that person very rapidly annoys everyone else in the office. No one wants to work with them, and more to the point, no one listens to them. So CIG are going to struggle to listen to Spectrum, because it's just full of negativity all of the time. And this is why I say it's more responsible on us to show something and evidence it and go, look, hey, this is what I think. This is why I think it. This is a couple of ways to fix it, but I want to know what everyone else thinks. Because even if everyone else does what they always do on Spectrum, which is dogpile you from that point onwards, you're not trying to get Spectrum's attention. You're trying to get CIG's attention. And I guarantee posts like that will, even if they don't respond, they will attract attention, because you'll be one of the positive voices on there. Yeah, and Bloodsnacks literally just said that as well. On marketing, says Arcade Alchemist, when you employ a marketing team and it becomes fat, they start pulling from development budget if they can't keep up, and they're not essential. They should be fired if the budget lacks. Yeah, I don't think there's much in the way of evidence that the budget's lacking at the minute, but I get it. I'm with that It's something that we can have a look at. Actually, we'll have a look at Cloud Imperium Games and their news. So it's gonna flash down. It's gonna go white because unfortunately most of their website is white, which is no good. But yeah, latest. Let's have a look. So their last financials will have a lot of this data in it. So it has their staff figures and whatnot, and what their costs are. So we can see precisely what it is that they've sold stuff on. So publishing operations, community events, and marketing. In 2022 financial year was 29.9 million. Salaries and related costs is 56 million. Other game dev costs 18 million. Contracted game dev costs 10 million. So you're looking at 28, 78. So you're looking at 84 million on game dev, 29 million on publishing, community events, and marketing. So yeah. Then we look at the staff split. Just going down a little bit, bear with me. Headcount analysis by different. So publishing, DevOps, and marketing, there are 182. Development 610, general and admin 68. So yeah, maybe that number's a little bit high, but I wouldn't be able to tell you what I think the ratios are anyway. But I know you couldn't see that. I just read it out. Trust me, that's what it says. Yeah. Crikey, I'm doing my best to keep up, guys, but you are so very ahead of me at the moment. So I'm going to skip through. Apologies if I miss bits out. Marketing makes CRG money, no doubt, but many of the decisions that irritated me were likely marketing as well. Yeah, I think that's. And good evening, Avy, by the way. Good to see you, buddy. Again, I think there are decisions being made for which we look at it and go, that seems to be a marketing decision, but seems to be in being are two completely different things. And we've got to have that surety that, that's where it's coming from, because there might be reasons that we're not seeing, because as people are pointing out, as Stakaragod's just pointed out, we're not seeing the roadmap, so we're not seeing where this is headed, we're not seeing where the decisions are, that sort of stuff. The silent majority is real, says Scott. The thing is, you never know if they're satisfied or dissatisfied because they're silent. Yeah, it can go one way or the other, right? If you've got no one complaining in a restaurant, generally that's an indication that, at least things are all right, or no one can be bothered. With sailors in the Royal Navy, you knew you were in trouble when they stopped complaining. When sailors were complaining, it was business as usual. When they stopped complaining, they were really hacked off. So it very much depends on the community, and you're right. Who's got the thermometer of this community? Firebrand says, I waited 5 years to back in 2017 also. Until then, I was playing Elite Dangerous and not enjoying it at all. Respect to those who love it, though. Yeah, exactly that, right? We don't all have to love the same games. We enjoy what we enjoy, and that's that. I saw the game in 2014, says Socially, and didn't back until 2020. I want it to be more functional, and a very, very sensible decision that is. 100%. That's that. Everyone is angry about who is everyone. 100%. I kind of think SC has an almost seasonal player base at times. The vast majority of players are just waiting for more gameplay or just more, only checking for big events and such. Yeah, and there's not anything necessarily wrong with that, I don't think. The other flip side of that is that we've had a couple of conversations, Edison, Can, and myself, in the Discord, about PvP balances and changes, and there was the general view being espoused that a lot of people don't know how to fly and stuff, and that's the problem. And it's like, no, it's not so much the problem, that's the player base. If most people don't know how to fly, then there are a few people who do know how to fly. Then the skill is where the majority is, right? That's the majority of the player base. If you've got a couple people who are right up in the top skill levels, then they're just people who know the game inside out, back to front, all that sort of stuff, right? It's the difference between, it's why other MMOs like WoW had, looking for raid and dungeon finder and all that added, and have such dumbed down difficulty modes, because the majority of people don't want to study, don't want to read, don't want to brush up, don't want to practice. They just want to play a game. And if the game's getting to that level, then, like if people, I'll teach you how to low fly, I'll teach you how to fly in decoupled. I don't want to be taught anything. I just want to play the game, and that's not my point of view. But it's a perfectly reasonable point of view for someone who wants to play a game to not feel like they have to learn to do it. Yeah. Um, so yeah. I saw the game in 2018. Said Bloodsnack, and backed that year. Um, and there's so many people that I still talk to. The big part of the community is really nice and helpful. Still meeting new people in the game, 100%. And I do like this community a lot. The Star Citizen community. Obviously, you guys are awesome, because we're all here together, and what draws us together is common ways of thinking, even if we don't necessarily agree on everything. But that's the point, right? Is that it's okay to disagree, and then just go back to drinking and gaming once we've disagreed, and that's key. Yeah. Todd Pappy, yeah, 100%. Todd's an absolute legend. So I think I'm just about. No, too late. And soon that lunch disappears from the work fridge. I take it you're talking Shadow Gal about the whingers at work. Yeah, 100%. Or things start happening to their food. That too, like hot sauce. CIG and their approach to the roadmap will always call in people bad mouthing it, because a lot of people don't know game development or understand the difficulty. 100%, and that's why I didn't like it, because I felt like the only people that were really disadvantaged by that is the people that wanted to know what was going on. But we'll have a look at the roadmap and see where 323 is, and what's coming and all that sort of stuff. Crikey, I can't catch up at the minute. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so far behind. Yeah, I'm keep trying to keep track of the conversation, because so much has happened, that I don't feel like I'm really kind of keeping up with it at the moment. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. I really don't know. Um, I've just lost it completely. Oh god. Right. So Avi says, think the solo multiplayer is when you got into the game. Towards the start, I feel like it was sold more solo. Lately, I've leaned more into the MMO multiplayer aspects. Yeah, there were. I just don't feel like the game had enough content to challenge the multiplayer side of things. Whereas now, with like the security outpost career and all that sort of stuff, with the overdrive missions, with the incursions, with Xeno Threat, there's so much more to do. I do feel like they've kind of jumped the gun on the YouTube marketing campaign, right? But yeah. My personal view says Arcade Alchemist is backers before SC 1.0 should all be given shares in the project akin to their backed amount. I don't think that's coming. I kind of see where you're going with that. Because calling us backers and not customers is kind of key here. Investors not being given profits shares is a bit of a joke. How we get treated. Um, yeah, I, yeah, it's a challenging one. I don't see that happening. I don't see them giving us that at all, because we've handed money over for very specific reasons, right? We've handed something over. There's been something in that transaction. It's not like we've just gone, "Hi, I've given you $1,000 out of the goodness of my heart." There has been something in that transaction, and the transactions were voluntary. So it'd be interesting. Um, all these content creators seem to have a chip on their shoulder about solos. No, I think at the moment, what's being pointed out is that solo ships can take on anything, right? It doesn't make sense from any sort of game perspective that a solo arrow, gladius, lightning, hornet, whatever. I think 400i happened within this group, taking out an Idris. Just doesn't make sense, right? It's like, what sort of World War II game with a pistol allows you to kill a tank? Just doesn't work. So I don't think it's so much about solos. I think it's making sure that everything's got a place, right? Because at the moment, and people are entirely right, the question is, why would I take an Idris with 18, 20 people on it where I can just take 20 F8 Lightnings? And the answer is, at the moment, you wouldn't. The only way they're going to balance that is by making the Idris basically impervious to the lightnings, because that's not their role. The lightning isn't there to kill big stuff. It's to kill other fighters. It's a superiority thing. It's to stop other people's bombers. It's to let your own bombers go through, which is their role from like World War II and where CIG have said multiple times they want it to go. So yeah. I mean, content creator streamers are going to lean multiplayer. It's more dynamic and typically seems to get more view, more interest. Yeah, I think at the moment there's just so little single player. I mean, there's so little anything, right, to go on. But where this game is really excelling, it's not showing huge amounts of innovation on the single player front. It's showing innovation in like character development, but that can be for anyone, right? So it's trying to talk about doing a new reputation system and all that sort of stuff. But where this really is kind of showing innovation is in the multiplayer front. So I think it's just kind of attracted those sorts of people. And you know, I can't blame them for that. If it was showing off a massively kind of revolutionary single player system, then I think the reverse would be true, right? And that's just where it goes. I remember back in 2.0 venturing into Gundo Station and EVAing for delivery missions and thinking, this is amazing, says Firebrand. Yeah, in 3.0. Yeah, 100%. And that PI Wanted mission is still one of my favourite, even now, even with everything we've seen. PI Wanted for me, that is them doing mission design right. And here's why. You got to bail out whenever you wanted. It wasn't up to you to do, you must complete the mission in this way. You could just get to the point where you go, do you know what, that's enough, I can't be bothered anymore, or I think that's it. Or maybe you're trying to build reputation with Kovalex, and Kovalex are a bit of a shady organization. So finding for them will build you rep with them, maybe, we don't know. But it gives us those options, right? The fact that they've done that gives you the option to be able to do that, and I think that's really cool. I just think that's really, really good mission design. The idea that you can follow a quest chain partway through, and instead of abandoning it and that whole storyline disappearing into the ether, being able to go, right, we're done now. Like, part of this mission is we had to fight this big ship, and the big ship's now dead. So I'm going to create a salvage beacon. So my mission is now spawning other missions for other people, because I'm going to report that as a salvage location, because no one in my org does salvage, for example, and all that sort of stuff is really good fun. But yeah, I remember seeing a lot of this stuff, and it was like, this is great. This is what I want from a game. Bloodsuck. I think with the release of Squadron 42, we may see more people starting to fly better or to learn because it can be a bit nicer to learn by yourself in a true single-player game. 100%. And I think there's certainly something to be said for games that are supported with other kind of stuff. Whether it's an MMO that's born out of a film, right? The film is going to drive people towards the game. Whether it's like World of Warcraft, an MMO born out of other types of games where you could go into that game and you could be in the locations that you've played in the other games, but you can experience it in a more personal way, like the culling of Stratholme in World of Warcraft, that sort of stuff. Remembering the time you did that mission, seeing those things happen that you did in other games, but seeing it from another perspective is so completely cool. And the example I always use here is the original Half-Life. Half-Life, Blue Force, and Blue Shift and opposing forces frankly, is like some of the best storytelling I think I've ever seen, because it's the same event seen from three entirely different perspectives. Uh, as a security guard, as one of the Marines that come in to sort it, and as Gordon Freeman himself, and actually seeing elements of the other stories in your own was so very cool. And just a complete, rather than just going sequel, we'll just cash in on it. Someone actually at Steam actually sat down, and isn't it weird to talk of Steam as, sorry, it was Valve, wasn't it? That's right, Valve. Someone at Valve sat down and thought about how they were going to do those sequels, which is brilliant. Anyway, moving swiftly on. Do anyone remember those? Does anyone remember playing? Am I just showing my age here? Did anyone play Blue Shifted Up 4? Okay, Alchemist did. Fantastic. Yeah. When we all got to be Barney. That was just awesome. I'm glad someone else here remembers it. I'm not just going mad. But yeah. Grenade pistol plus tank equals Helldivers 2. All right, arcade, but I did say World War II, right? Also, I'm not entirely sure I would go with Helldivers for realism. The only thing about realistic about Helldivers is the friendly fire. Citizen Scott says we're benefactors, not investors. Yeah, I can kind of see that. Yeah. What's really interesting with, I think, with Squadron 42 and with Star Citizen is that do CIG have a responsibility to have the PU in a better state when Squadron 42 releases? Can you see they're almost so intertwined? It's like, well, we can't release Squadron 42 until it's finished, but then again, we can't release Squadron 42 until the PU is in a better state, because people are going to go, yeah, this is amazing. Log into Star Citizen and just be like, what is this shit? What is this? This is crap. This is buggy. It's awful. It's rubbish. What is going on? Yeah. Oh God, CIG, what have you done? Yeah, that. So I'm guilty of the 400i. I killed Idris plus 2 hammerheads solo for around 52 minutes, 320 grey, extreme so speaking. Yeah, 100%. No, you're right. That's an actual concern. What I'm talking about is the people who genuinely think SEC should be gated behind social gameplay. No, absolutely not. No. Yeah, 100%, Scott. I'm with you on that, and people won't shift me on that. MMOs need to cater to all things. And I've played World of Warcraft. I'll keep going back to this because it's the MMO I've played the most. I played World of Warcraft as both. I played it as all three. I played it as a social guild who weren't really serious about their progression. They just gave it a go. I played it as part of a guild who were more serious about their progression, and we weren't crazy on it by any stretch of the imagination. But there was the requirement to watch videos and read up and, min-max your character and all that sort of stuff. And recently, for like the last few, yes, you are showing your age, says Bloodsnuck. Shut up, get out. But and recently I've been playing it on my own. And every so often I'll play with Edison or someone else that I know in game when they're online. But I've just been playing it on my own, and I've enjoyed all three. And it has things for all people. If you want to play it on your own, there's reasons to play it on your own. And this game needs to be just the same. It's going to be really cool as that solo bounty hunter, or out in the middle of nowhere surviving by yourself. That needs to be just as viable. I'm not saying that you need to be making the same credits, but it absolutely needs to support that gameplay. Of course, there are going to be things that are gated, like no one's doing raids solo unless it's raids from 3 patches ago. But, that sort of stuff, I should be able to go to a distribution center and do what's within my remit on my own. Like, if I'm grabbing cargo from a distribution center, I should be able to do that. Yeah, perfect. A WoW reference, says Shadow Gal. And now we can shoehorn Asmongold into the thumbnail. Absolutely not. No, still not doing that. Solo related, the lack of focus on individuals and more pushing towards the multiplayer without adding any matchmaking tools is a bit of a joke because it's pandering to the orgs allowing dominance. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how the social aspect of this pans out, because there are social aspects to it that, again, we struggle with in other games, or that can be exploited in other games. If you look at EVE Online, for example, in orgs you can steal ships. If you're in part of that org, you get to the relevant, or the corporation, isn't it? You get to the right sort of level, then you can add access, you can steal stuff, which is fine in EVE Online because people grinded it through the game, or grinded their way to it through the game. Doing that with ships that people have bought, yeah, it's a bit weird. But we'll see how they play that out. There's definitely things that they need to do that. That's true. I've totally forgotten about that. Makes me want to have fishing in the game, says Bloodsnack. Ugh, honestly, who let you in? I think they intend to have us go through a couple of fighters, and given that they have a part when you're on a boat, I'm sure that they'll have parts you fly other ships in AV. It says AV as well. Yeah, 100%. I think there's going to be a fair few bits that you're going to do in there. There's the Hornet seems to be part of it. There's Gladius certainly seems to be part of it. The F8 does make an appearance. We see that at the end of the old Squadron 42 trailer, where Henry Cavill and his posse are flying some. They come in lightnings. So yeah, there's going to be a bunch of stuff in there, and of course, Squadron is how you earn a lightning. So it may be that you open up a path into that squadron or whatever. We may have a lot more org or group event currently, but a lot can still be done solo. I know there's certain missions where you need people, and that CIG just trying to find the middle ground. Imagine a single-player game with crossover elements that allows you to unlock areas for other players. I think some games have done this before. Yes, you are showing your... Shut up. I have read that before, but I'm going to read it again because it's just rude. Yeah. The potential for crossover games here is massive. Is there something that we could do on mobile when we're away from our computers that's a different aspect to this? Like, for example, could you, on massively reduced graphics, somehow plug in and be a turret gunner for people? Could you be a drone pilot from your mobile? Don't know. And I'm not expecting that. I'm just throwing ideas out. But, if you really want to get people engaged, then engage them. Eve kind of had this idea with Dust 512, which was like the ground-based combat side of Eve. It didn't work out. It really didn't pan out at all. But there's the option for stuff like that to be tried, because only so many people play PCs. Lots of people, huge amounts of people play mobile games. So maybe that's another market they can tap into. As long as it doesn't replace us, as long as it contributes to, then I'm all for it. One upside to the reduced board ownership of CIG, where Chris Roberts likely has the majority of control for better or worse, and should prevent too many changes that don't fit the vision. And this is the beautiful thing about it. Yes, there is a board, but this wasn't brought in from an oversight point of view. This has always been Chris Roberts controlled. Chris Roberts has directed the legal team that has written the contracts. It's up to him to say, in no uncertain terms to them, can you put in anything where they can remove me from the company or where they can overrule my vision, that sort of stuff. And we've seen that with what people were talking about with the money that was going on, and the payments that were going on with the whole shares thing, right? Is the way they've written it is that, yes, you can take your money out, but you can't do that in a way that damages the company and stops development. So, that's actually happening. He's still got control. I don't doubt that for a second. What I'd like to see in the future, says Bloodsnack, is a few more tools for orgs and groups just to help with management. 100%. Grouping people up, allowing people to find socials, all that sort of stuff. And also, what's going to be important in this game, because of things like the whole murder hobo stuff, is our ability to rate other people and for that to become reliable. And I think part of that in reputation will be tracking what people do well or not do well. So reputation doesn't just track that you got an extra 750 rep with this organization or this faction today. It tracks that you're a very good bounty hunter, or it tracks that you're very reliable with cargo, or it tracks that you're a great private military contractor, or it tracks that you're very good at your salvage, or you are very good with your search and rescue, whatever it is. And then on the criminal side, it tracks why you're a criminal. So, you know, if there's a crime stat between you, who are a smuggler, and you've been caught a couple times shipping stuff that you shouldn't, and someone else is a murder hobo, then the murder hobo would absolutely be given priority over a smuggler if a ship's in a decision to choose one or the other, because they're a murder hobo. And that sort of thing attracts bigger law enforcement presence than someone who's tried to smuggle 800 cigarettes across the border, right? You see what I mean? Cool. Drinkers with clickbait problems, says Scott. Yeah, 100%. Oops. DMC5 did this thing where you take different paths as V and Nero, and you have to unlock areas by killing orb veins, etc. Yeah, 100%. There's loads of games that are like paired up and you help each other out. So yes, 100%. Hello, Cameron. I don't know what you retracted there, buddy, but good to see you. Glad you could make it, my friend. Yeah. So I thought I was almost there. Chat lied to me. I thought I was almost at the point where I could catch you up. Okay, what I might just want to do just quickly is just switch over and have a look at where we are with 323. Just because I've bad-mouthed it a bit and said, where is it? I mean, it's. I think the best point that I can make is has already been made. I think you guys have done this. I think you've kind of already made the point that needs to be made, which is the game's in EPTU Wave 3, patch 323 is in EPTU Wave 3. And given the delay, there is a possibility that they might skip PTU and just put it straight in. So, yeah. But at the moment, what we're looking at within the patch itself is this. So, the character customizer is committed. Distribution centers are still tentative, which is interesting. I remember reading that they were committed, or that they were done in the progress report, but they haven't been updated. I think we're getting a roadmap roundup this week, ? So, yeah, hopefully we'll have that confirmed then. The fauna, the bird, and the crazy psycho cat thing that we've seen, somehow someone's got them into stations, chasing people around, which was good fun. That's also committed. Mobiglass is in. Creature hunting missions are in. Item banks, as we know, are now being pushed to a point patch. Arena Commander, flight map, engineering experimental mode, Grav Royale, custom lobbies, all committed. Personal and instance hangers, as we know at length, and I talked about at the beginning, back to a point patch. FPS loot screen, FPS map system are committed, which is great stuff. Really glad that the FPS map is in as well as the star map. That's really good news. Cargo hauling, point patch. The dynamic event blockade runner. We haven't really heard about this, but I am guessing that too will be a point patch because that is going to rely on the work that's gone on with cargo hauling, with freight elevators, and with instant hangers. So yeah, expect that to be a point patch as well. Visor and lens HUD rework, including the compass, which I'm really looking forward to. Player interaction, EVAT2, hostility, reputation, star map itself, all committed, which is really, really good news. We have only master modes committed. I know people will be happy and or sad about that. I really do intend to take a much closer look at master modes once they're in and once we're able to see them in the wider testbed of the PU, and once they've gone through whatever tweaking and fixing and other things that they need to do from the EPTU. Because as it says, it comes up in text on the screen, nothing's final until it's in the PU, and even then it's not final. So yeah, vehicle modularity and the Aegis Retaliator gold standard we're still waiting on. The dynamic crosshair is committed, and unfortunately, from the core tech, we are still waiting for a lot of this. Now, as my understanding is that the water simulation and rendering, that is in, because we're seeing that in the EPTU, and oh my god, there are some amazing videos coming out of the EPTU. Some incredible shots across water. They look like they've really nailed it, which is exciting. volumetric clouds, that's just work ongoing, that's fine. Image upscaling, which is useful again, and the replication layer update, which is the key thing. I think what we forget at our peril is within 323, the replication layer work is huge. It's significant. People will remember the ill-fated 318, which is likely why the time's going on. I feel like this is going to be a little bit like the Cyberpunk thing, where they delayed it a couple times, and then the studio were getting death threats, effectively, and then they ended up releasing it. And then what happened was we got a buggy game. And then everyone was like, release it. Why are you taking so long? Release it. And then, oh my God, why is it buggy? Because they were trying to fix it. And we can't have one without the other. If we want to avoid another 318, maybe we do need to wait. And make sure that comes through. But yeah, there's lots of stuff in there. That we need to remember that there's some significant work going on, but it is disappointing. And maybe CIG do need to be a little bit more realistic and making sure that the patches that they release, they're a little bit more realistic about the timescales. If they are regularly running to 4 months, then, for the first patch of the year and for other patches, then how about we just be a little bit more realistic and we just say 3 patches a year? I don't know. Let's find out. Let's go for a little bit of engagement. Okay, we're just going to go for a poll. So we're going to go, would you accept CIG dropping to 3 patches a year if they were able to hit those deadlines? I'm just going to correct my abysmal spelling. I'll put that up. Let's see what you think. Would you accept that? Would you still want 4 patches a year? Is that not good? And by 4 patches I still mean 3 patches, I still mean point patches if that's what they're going to do. But yeah, absolutely. Let's see. And while that's going on, let's have a look at some of the other comments. So yeah, Scissor Ninja says, for me, spaceship gameplay is the main draw of SC, but CIG ships can also be thought of as playable digital art. Yeah, they are playable locations, right? They're flyable, fightable, destructible locations. 100% agree with you. I suspect there'll always be thousands of people willing to pay thousands of dollars to play with ships in a sandbox. Suspicion proved, I would suggest, but that's where we are right now, right? Is that many people? I said this about making a console VR game for PS5. We spoke about Dust before, but it makes sense with replication, like mobile and console for VR, VR for social. Yeah, anything like that. If they want to start adding things on, as long as it doesn't become the focus, as long as it's not Diablo Immortal or anything like that, doing those sorts of things to enable me when I'm away from the game to interact with it in some way. And one of the examples I'll give of this was World of Warcraft's auction app. It had an armory app with an auction attached. So you could go and sell your stuff. Because what damage am I doing to the game by not being in a major city, running from the auction house to the bank, to the mailbox, to the auction house, and back? I'm not harming anything by not being able to do that. And I'm not suggesting an auction house for Star Citizen. I don't think that would work because you've got to be able to move goods around physically. But there's got to be something, right? There's absolutely a reason to do that. Napo, good to see you, buddy. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm sure you're lurking in the background, but mate, it's good to see you, and I hope everything is well. Yeah. What I want for the future, says Shadow Girl: swords, jetpacks, returning throne blade discs, awesome heists, and treasures to steal. Yeah. I think we talked about this the last time we were on live stream 2 weeks ago, but there absolutely needs to be engaging criminal gameplay, and criminal gameplay can't just be ways to screw other players over. That's got to be part of it, but also, like you say, that the idea of heists, of stealing tech, of smuggling, of, you know, like the criminal gameplay of dealing with the Hastings. One man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter, and I probably just demonetized my stream by using that word, but oh well, whatever. But you know, it's things like that, right? And sure, Harston will see it as criminal, and Harston passing that on to the UEE will make it criminal. But if all you're doing is bringing food or stopping them from slaughtering a slum area, are you really a criminal? And there needs to be that grey area in it as well. And I really like that idea. You know, the idea that you've got the idea of like honor among thieves and criminal gangs having like easy, uneasy alliances and all that sort of stuff is important and you know will make for fulfilling criminal gameplay. Rather than just let's see how many people that you can kill, and oh by the way, you get when you get caught, you also have the added fun of now you're going to Klesher. You know, that's not gonna keep people um, engaged for very long. Uh, Bloodsuck says, I kind of hope we will see some tools from other games like WoW or New Worlds that allow in-game management, so we don't have to rely on Discord or other external tools. Yeah, so the communications thing is going to be really important. I am going to at some point sit down and look at the videos on that. Gilded is one of the things that people have mentioned a few times, but this is really important because having 12 people on a ship, you know, having a fully crewed Polaris and having it trying to do all the things that it can do at once in one voice channel, you're not going to do it. It's going to be abysmal. It's not going to be a fun experience at all. Yeah. So, another thing a lot of people don't seem to see is how reputation will not be a punishment for criminals, it'll be a reward. Most criminals don't want good rep with good guys, while that's why they're criminals. Yeah, so rep needs to work in both directions, right? Rep is about opening and closing doors. It just means that you're closing doors. So what's really interesting is one of the things that they're doing with this is you can already see it in Pyro. The idea of your own personalized hangar as a criminal, it's going to make much more sense to have it in Pyro because then you're not getting chased down by UEE, you're not getting shot by the guards at the place. So when they say, well, how will they make it, you know, make sure that it's criminal in Pyro and lawful in Stanton? Well, like that as one of the ways. You know, and it's about kind of, you know, like I say, opening doors in one direction, closing them in another. Obviously, the more you get to the more you go down one route, the less you're going to be able to go down the other route without trying to bring things back the other way. That's the other thing as well, is if you want to change direction, you need to be able to change direction in both directions. So you need to be able to, like a redemption arc from criminal and a fall from grace from lawful. It needs to happen both ways. Crikey, I am a long way behind, guys. I'm really, really sorry. Replication layer is massively important, 100%. 4 patches per year is ideal for quarterly financial reporting purposes, assuming each of the patches are aligned with revenue generating events. 100%. You know, there are other reasons that are not just the whether or not it suits us as backers is what I'm trying to get at. The other flip side for that is that, you know, maybe it isn't right. Because let's say, for example, and this is not the case, but let's say, for example, it is linked to quarterlies, you would want your first patch of the year to be done by March, so it shows up in the first quarter. And they, I think, for a couple of years now, haven't hit that, and that's a good thing to have it not linked because it means you're not driving. You know, that the whole reason they don't have a publishing studio is because they're not being held to account by anyone other than themselves and us, and I say that loosely. Um, so they don't have to hit those targets. If they start tying it to those quarterly dates, then they're going to start doing it to themselves, and that's not a good idea. But yeah, permacrime for using illegal tech weapons that are overpowered for unlawful sectors, and you can't manufacture or import through jump rates. Yeah, like I said, I think that's the redemption arc, right? Is everything needs to be undoable at some point. I'm not saying that it needs to be easy to undo, but you need to be able to do that and play the way you want, right? Because we might say, no, we don't want that. But then if you look at that from the other point of view, is what game tells you you can't, what game out there says that if you play it through one way, we're going to lock all of the other or some of the other options to you, and the only way you could ever undo that is to buy another version of the game. Like, no one's going for that. That's not going to happen. 100%. It's not that. CIG can't make Spectrum the tool because I'm permabanned. Arcade, you got wow. Roger. Stakara says it'd be nice if the ship computer stations in quarters would provide additional apps to use in game, like odd stuff, research, and lore based activities. Yeah. Oh, Gilded got bought by. I missed that entirely. I've just heard Gilded mentioned when I've talked about the sort of functionality that they need for this game, and that's it. Oh man, Gilded had a good start, but after being bought by Roblox or their parent company, it kind of became stale and development has stopped. Sad about it. Yeah, it's always the way. Something new and upcoming and very exciting gets bought out by someone else, and then all the innovation stops. And it's like, if you were really that innovative, you wouldn't have had to have bought it because you'd have come up with it yourself. Hashtag just saying. So yeah. So, Mackie Moves, good. I hope I'm saying that correctly, but good evening. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for joining us. I'm still hoping for stable servers, nothing more than stable servers. Am I asking for too much? I don't know. Yes, absolutely. If you wanted stable servers, this is another game to be playing on. Look, we can only hope. The reason I think that the servers have not been stable up until now is that the why put a lot of effort into stabilizing something that you know is temporary and going to be replaced. At some point, they had to switch over to server meshing and go, right, replication layer, server meshing, persistent entity streaming, server side and client side, object container streaming, all that sort of stuff. That was where the effort needed to be. So we can only hope then that when we go over to dynamic, that's where the real work comes in, and that at the very least we can say that the game is stable or the servers are stable, and that at least we're not 30K'ing. Or, as they have shown us, and it has started to happen, someone was talking about it earlier in Discord, that the game itself will start to 30K recover and pull itself out of that sort of nose. I've just realised I'm still. That's really weird, because all I've done is switch between the two. It shouldn't have muted it at all. If this continues, I'll start using Ventrilo again. Can you guys hear me now? Can you can you hear me now? Is that okay? Give me a thumbs up. Let me know. Smash the like button if you can hear me. I'm not going to talk until you smash the like button. No, thanks, Scott. Cheers, mate. Thanks for that. I don't know why it suddenly decided to just mute me. I was talking on this version before, and it was like, nope, you can't talk anymore. That's helpful. But yeah, hey, thank you very much. Hey, Zaveth, good to see you. But yes, I'm glad we're back. Do you know what? I don't even know what I was saying. Where are we? Oh, server stuff. Yes, I was just saying that you came here for my beautiful face, so here it is. But yeah, now that we've started to see things like the 30k crash recovery has started to work. We should see much more of that now. Now that they're able to go across to static server meshing, and we should see a lot more of that. So right away, Macamoose, no, I wouldn't hope for. I wouldn't bank on it, mate. Um, at some point, it will. At some point, we'll get the server stuff back. It will happen, I promise. But it's just not. It's not going to be there. Oh God. Hello, fellas. Good to see you. That would be a great April Fool's, do a live stream on mute for an hour or so. Lol. I know. I feel like I do it enough that it wouldn't be a joke. It'll just be like, as someone pointed out, oh my God, the old man muted himself again. Thanks, Bloodsnuck. You're like 7 seconds younger than me, you cheeky sod. But yeah, good stuff. Badgers, what's your line in the sand? Yeah, good question. There is one, right? Um, I don't know. I don't know where I would walk away from the project, but I think middle of next year, what I will have needed to have seen to hope to say that they are doing well is I need to see progress on more of the core stuff. So not just the tech, the core gameplay loops, um, faster delivery, more consistent delivery. Now that things are switching over from Squadron 42, um, I think I was wondering whether or not the reason I kind of paused for it and I had a thought for a second um, was what does Squadron 42 mean for me in terms of the game, right? Because I'm really looking forward to playing that. And of course, I will do some of that. Maybe we'll do that on stream because that's something I will be able to stream. For those who don't know, I'm on a one PC setup, and streaming Star Citizen is possibly the most unforgiving thing I've ever asked my computer to do. It doesn't like it. It becomes like a PowerPoint presentation. Um, Even though I'm running a 3080, it's just not. It's Nigat Seacat. But yeah, I think Blood. Good to see you, buddy. Have a good evening, and I'll hopefully catch you Wednesday for Overdrive, and anyone else that wants to join as well. Um, but I don't think. Look, if people come over to Squadron 42 and they play it, they really enjoy it, they think it's great, and then they come into the PU and they're like, "What the fuck is this? This is utter turd," and they don't convert, and the game gets a bunch of bad press because of it. I don't care. How's that any different to any other week for Star Citizen? So I don't think Squadron 42 really has much of a hold on me. So in terms of, I don't think it affects my line. I think I want to see things start to move quicker. Because if you look, let's take the last 4 years, right? And we'd have to do this on the roadmap. But let's look at, if you make a very quick short list of the core gameplay loops that we've done over the last 4 years. So mining, salvage, whatever else we had. And I think we've had mining before that, right? But refining, salvage, and the other bits and pieces that we've had. Medical beds, that sort of stuff. Then you go, okay, well, in 4 years, the last 4 years, they've done this many. And then you make a list of everything they've got to do and go, okay, well, they've done X number in 4 years. So what we do is go, okay, number of remaining features divided by the number they can do in 4 years. That's how many 4-year slots we've got to wait until the game gets done. It needs to pick up. And I'm not talking about systems, as in star systems. I'm not talking about solar systems. I'm not interested in that sort of stuff anywhere near as much as I am. That they've got to be able to deliver their science gameplay and their exploration gameplay and their data running gameplay and the refining now that they've added it, and hacking and all that sort of stuff. They've makes me think 1.0 2030. I made a prediction in a stream a long time ago, and I said I would be very surprised if we got 1.0 this decade. Just because people go, oh, it'll be the next 3 years. Okay, great. Let's add up all the gameplay systems that they need to add, like fire, like the room system, like armor, like everything else that Maelstrom, everything else that needs to be added, and then divide it by the number of years we got left. And do people really see them doing 3 major game systems a year? 3 major gameplay loops a year? Because they haven't done that up until now. So that's what I mean by they need to start delivering more. It needs to get quicker for me. I mean, I'm gonna love the game regardless, right? I've played this game an awful lot in the time that I've owned it. I'm going to keep playing it. It's where I met all of you guys. It's where I met a lot of the people in Discord. This game is what I want games to be in the future, and I really hope that if nothing else, what this game does is it sells itself on its server meshing to other games. Can you imagine what other studios and what other games could do with the server meshing tech? Can you imagine what would be possible in Star Wars, in Lord of the Rings, in insert Warhammer, insert anything, Game of Thrones, any sort of IP that gets people excited? Imagine, fucking like, Harry Potter. Insert anything that people get frothy about, and imagine what you could achieve with server meshing. Imagine what you could do with potentially unlimited server capability. Crazy, right? Yeah, so that's it. Alex, yeah. So the vote really came from the thought that 4 is not a quarter of 12. If they release it even by the end of this month, which clearly isn't going to happen, that's 3 patches a year. If they were to drop 1 patch out, what you do is you drop the administrative burden of all the reviews, all the deadlines, all the little polishing and stuff. You can just let people get on with stuff. And it's like, if you have a meeting every week and then you drop it back to every 2 weeks, you half the amount of time per year that you're spending in meetings, right? If you do that again if you drop quarterly back down to 3 times a year, you lose 25% of the review time that you're doing. So people get to focus on what they're doing and not the presentations and not the reviews and not the change this bit and do that bit and, all the time they spend waiting around for that rather than just sitting at the desk working. And that's the reason for the vote. But yeah, it's not something I think that they should necessarily consider. It was just a very interesting thought exercise on how would we feel about that? Would we feel like that's a positive move and them getting to deliver more content and use that time more effectively and efficiently, or would we feel like that's them not kind of dialing back the effort? Is the point that I'm making, or the question that I was asking? But yeah, Macamus, no problem, but you're very welcome. Yeah, exactly that. We all enjoy the game. We all hate it when it mucks up. So yeah, so 2025 needs to be the year for SC. Stop it, you're a monster. But yeah, honestly, I only play SC a couple times a month, says AV. Usually for the Evo tests. I enjoy playing SC, but it kind of does get repetitive for the majority of what we have being very similar or / the same. Yeah, 100%. I think what I really like about the persistence and the way the persistence is happening is, you go out with a ship that's got a bit of a cargo bay, and then all of a sudden you get into a fight, you destroy them, and then you realise they've got cargo. So now it's adding on an extra loop. So because now you can steal the cargo and sell it, but then you've got to get to the right locations, and it's only a tiny little thing, but I think that's what makes some gameplay so engaging, is that it's not just go here, kill that, go here, kill that, go here, kill that. It's like this entire story develops because you go and do one thing, and then maybe it gives you some sort of clue as to something else that's happening. Maybe um, what if they started adding missions that weren't missions, right? So what if you went and did a mission and it was, I don't know, clear out a bunker, right? One of the things you can do if you're there, you can obviously just clear it out and leave. That's fine. But maybe every so often, that from all the stuff that's lying around, there's stuff, and it gives you a clue. It gives you like a location on another part of the bay, part of the planet, or whatever. And you go to that location, and it's a pirate hideout, or it's some sort of ransom demand for a hostage, and you can go and rescue the hostage, or it's information that some government contractor is shifting a high value piece of tech, and you're going to go and steal it and then sell it to one of the pirate gangs or ransom it back or whatever, right? And you can and then these things just kind of snowball, like being a criminal does at the minute, where you go and do some criminal things, and then you've got to go clear your crime stat, and then you get engaged by other people and they chase you around. And do you see what I mean? So it would be really cool to see those sorts of missions happen, and start to develop that sort of stuff. Um, in development, we use story points. It's not all features, but take the same amount of effort. Yeah, 100%. Absolutely that. So effort is picked up and should keep on, but no confirmed progress until hangers and ILW. If it's bad, PES is crap. And shit it all down. Yeah, shut it all down. Yeah, 100%. All tech begins tier 0, 100%, and all tech is just going to go up through tiers. It's a live service game. They've said they're going to keep updating it for the periodicity of its lifespan. So they're just going to keep updating it. Sorry, I've clearly not been drinking enough. Excuse me while I just refill for a second. We, the community, are very patient, says Alex1. Anyway, and should always hope for the best, even if it's adventurous and ambitious, especially when it comes to communication from CIG. Yeah, and this is what we were saying, and I think the points that were made right at the beginning of the stream, Alex, kind of hold real true, which is we need to take CIG at face value, and part of that is that we need to accept that they say things are targeted, they are, what's the word that I'm looking for? They're not set in stone. They are, lost the word completely. Brain not braining. 404 brain not found. But there's something. They're aspirations. That's what I was after. They're aspirations. They're not dead set targets, and that's fine, and we can do that. But part of that also needs to be that CIG need to recognise that maybe they're being too ambitious. If you're constantly missing a 3-month deadline by a month, maybe you just need to push it and give yourself that extra month, right? If you're constantly going, well, I'm trying to walk this and I can never walk it faster than 15 minutes, then expecting someone to do it in 10 is just ridiculous. So maybe just go, okay, we'll give you the extra time, rather than us constantly doing this, people constantly waiting, and all the 323 WEM posts. If we keep missing it, maybe that. I think that works. I don't think that's an unfair criticism to make. Wells, like a chain quest, yeah, absolutely Wells, but not so much a chain in that it doesn't telegraph it for you, right? So it doesn't say to you, you must do it. It doesn't come up on your mobiGlas and hand it to you on a platter. Maybe you go in like the tablet pad things, right? You pick those up. So if anyone played Cyberpunk, when you get to a terminal, you can read emails, you can read messages, you can look at files. So maybe you pick up someone's personal mobiGlas, and on it there's a file there and they're demanding something about you will pay a ransom for this person. And then somewhere else in there, there's a clue as to where you've got to go next, or a pickup date, or maybe it's a handover or a drop off. And you know, it gives you a date and a time and a location, and it updates that to the star map, and you fly there, and maybe you intercept it. Maybe you take the person from ransom yourself. Maybe you kill everyone and take the money. Whatever it is, it gives you that, but you don't get it handed to you. You got to go looking for it. So if you're just there going, oh, I don't have the time, I'll just run this one bunker and then I'll go back. I'll fly back to the station and I'm going to bed. Great. I think that's, it's about building that option. And then if you don't take it on, the beautiful thing about not having it in a chain quite like that is, you could have someone coming on, or you could go in chat and go, I've just picked up a tablet about a ransom handover for a kidnapped person. Does anyone want this from me? And they go, yeah, and you meet up and you hand it over and they go take it on. So the chain continues. The missions exist. Who does it is changed. And that I feel like, yes, it's kind of a chain, but it's not the sort of chains that we're used to. Certainly not in the games that I've played anyway. If I recall, they said the Quanta have made as much progress as they can without integrating more aspects into the game. AV 100%. And I really, really think Quanta is going to be important and vital to this game. I think it's going to take elements from Mordor, Shadows of War, or whatever it's called, where you have like a nemesis system, because they've said if an NPC that's just randomly moving around does something that gets it a crime stat, and let's say it engages someone and gets a crime stat for it, but they get away or it kills them or whatever, that Quanta is now not a random Quanta. It now becomes a permanent NPC. And the game will track that NPC, and that NPC could theoretically go away and start its own criminal network just because it shot at a player in transit, which is kind of really interesting, right? I think that's a really nice way of doing the game and being able to track things like that. It leaves breadcrumbs for us to follow. Well's exactly that. And the other thing is I don't know about you guys, is I often feel compelled if I get a second part to a quest to go and do it. I feel like I've got to go and complete it to complete the whole thing, especially when it's tied to rep. Whereas this is an absolutely additional add-on. Abandoning it means nothing because you haven't accepted anything. You're just following up on a lead and all that sort of stuff, right? So yeah. Parkinson's law, yeah, 100% that. I think we talked about that before. So yeah. Off topic, Makamu says, we spent the whole time getting trolleys from the cargo centre at Bajini Point down to the lobby and wheeling each other around. Epic and fun space times, I think. Mate, I'm really glad you're enjoying it and having fun. That's the sort of silly stuff that we should be getting up into in games. Yes, it's got its serious aspects. But yeah, I don't know, would everyone be interested in us doing some sort of like race event at the indoor racetracks that they've got at like Crusader and stuff? I think that'd be quite good fun. And having some sort of racing thing, I think that would be great, with lots of different like footage, and I can put it all together in one video. I think that'd be cool. Yeah. Yeah, so Quanta is the AI system that's going to be powering this, and it basically relies on the whole server meshing and how that's going to work to run. So basically, they've got as far as what Avi was saying and what Citizen Scott's saying, is they've got as far as they can with it without knowing the specifics now of how replication layout and everything is going to work. So it's gone quiet on the Quanta front, but if you want to, there's a really, really great video. If anyone wants to link it in chat, then please do. But there is an amazing video done by Tony Z at CitizenCon 2019 about Quanta. I was in the room for that presentation, and it's effing incredible. It was a real sit up and take notice moment for what they're planning to do. It's really cool. Badges, should Jared talk more or shut up? I know Execute's not a massive fan of Jared. I don't mind. Jared's, he's he's doing his thing. He's a personality, and that's what personalities do. Um, I think for a lot of time, he is. I think he's just becoming a little bit sick of a lot of the criticism. Like we were saying before, right? People need to take CIG at face value. If CIG are repeatedly saying it's not a promise, and then people say you broke your promise, it's like there's only so much they can say before it all starts to go silly. But yeah, um, I also think it's you know it's nice to have a little bit of personality there and a little bit of that sort of stuff. I think he does a pretty good job of just letting people talk and letting them get into stuff. Yeah. But so yes, he does seem a little bit defensive, 100%. But I think people have kind of have added that, right? Um, but yeah. You can program a room to have manifest and encrypt that manifest into serial numbers. I've obviously lost the plot because I have no idea what's being talked about there. Sorry. Yeah. Um, da, 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 da. Yeah, X on the warpath again against Jared lately, and it's hilarious. Bless him. Yeah, I know he's not a fan. um, but I kind of wonder if he's waffling because he doesn't have much he can talk about or is allowed to talk about. Yeah, possibly. Um, I think that's that. I think the key thing that my anything I think about the content creation in Star Citizen and within CIG is overshadowed by one glaring thing, right? I don't get them having a week off. I don't understand. It's content creation. You can have a video prepped. And I know this is big talk from someone who doesn't post that regularly. I get that. I'm with you. But then again, I am not being paid almost $5 million a year in subs to make content because that's what they said the subscribers things was for, that the subscribers would go to fund ISC and Star Citizen Live and all that sort of stuff. And if I tell you what, if you turn around to me now and said we will pay you $5 million a year to put out 2 videos a week, I'll put out 2 videos a week. And even if I'm on holiday or I'm absent, there will be 2 videos a week. I don't understand the idea of, well, we're not coming back next week because we're all on holiday. We're not posting anything over Christmas because we're all on holiday. You could make a video in the year 2000 and post it now if you really wanted to. Like that to me doesn't make sense. They have to, you know, they can do better on the content creation front, and they need to, in my opinion. We absolutely should have a video, at least one video a week, every week. And the only time they really justified doing one video is when they can't get people on live to do questions, like leave periods. Um, everything else. Yeah, jump point 6 a year is not great. Not with 186 team in your marketing department, and 186 strong in your marketing department. I feel like they could do better, right? And that's that. Um, I'm just salty. He mocks me for hating blue, says Citizen Scott. I can't help you there, buddy. CIG needs to get the info stuff locked down more than give it to Jared so we get the good info, not let Jared interview stuff randomly. Yeah, I'd like to think that it's a little bit more structured than that. I think it comes across as haphazard because that's Jared's style. But yeah. Him being 6 inches away from Dev's face, asking about Org UI like a backer is very funny. Yeah, and I think this is it, right? Is that when it comes to content creation, because we all learn differently and we all absorb information slightly differently, it does become a bit of a challenge to make sure that everyone's enjoying it, and that it's the best way to happen for everyone. So yeah, I sympathise with them on that front. It's not easy. If it becomes too formal, it's like a military briefing, and no one enjoys those. You don't want the PowerPoint slide stuff. Because I don't know about you guys, it's great at CitizenCon, and they need some sort of thing on the board, but it does feel a little bit like I'm back in the warfare school here in Portsmouth, just reading slides for CitizenCon. It's like, come on, we could do better than this. Um, some way of, like a laser pointer, but on the screen, being able to freeze videos and bring people's attention to points of it, and actually being able to highlight stuff on the screen, like in real time, so everyone sees it, not just trying to point a laser pointer at a projector screen. That sort of stuff would be really cool, right? Rather than, here's some bullet points that I prepared. It's like, great, keep them for your notes. Show us the video. But yeah. Physical poster to us. I mean, I don't want to wait for our lives to be over. I don't want to wait for our lives to be over. I promise never to do that again. Was that the reference? Did I get the reference, or did I miss it? Yeah. So was that it? Was that? I got it! Yay! Woo! Shut your mouth, Scott. Shut your mouth, you absolute monster. Um, oh God. Remember, nothing you do on the internet goes away. Oh, fucking hell. Thanks, guys. I absolutely love you guys. You're great. No mistake in here goes unpunished. Get out, the lot of you. Oh dear. Just that'll be the rally call for the next group play. Oh Jesus. Oh, very funny. Yeah, no, good. See, I'm gonna stop. If you drink more, you might forget this. No, Stack, because I know you lot aren't gonna let me forget it, because you're all monsters. Pack it in. Stop it. Yeah, until you remind me later. Precisely that. Yeah, get. But yeah. So so here's a question. I'm just closing down on the other screen. I'm just getting rid of the progress tracker, or sorry, the roadmap, because I just can't stare at it anymore. That's it. I'm done. But does anyone actually use the progress tracker anymore? Does anyone still use that? Because I don't think I've looked at that in forever. I mean, great if you do, but I'd just be interested to know how many people of us still reference the progress tracker at all. I mean, I think every so often I glance at it to see if there are any ships coming and how many ships are in development, and see if we can kind of tally that to what we know is coming, to see if there are any surprises and stuff. But other than that, I think it kind of gets left, right? But it's not been getting updates since enough, but it's supposed to soon. Yeah, absolutely. I look at the card to see what's not committed. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, yeah, that's right. They did a massive rework of the teams, didn't they? So it's until they do that, the progress tracker is going to need a lot of reworking to be renamed with the teams and to make sure that everything reflects. So yeah, that's right. But I mean, to be honest, even before he said that, um, yeah. How is Tree socially? I hope he's doing well. Passing my regards. I changed over Discord accounts because I was on a backup one for ages because I lost access to this one because my mobile went out of. Um, so yeah, where was your headphones warning, Janos? You didn't get one because my singing's so beautiful. You don't need one. But yeah, do pass on my regards and tell him, if he wants to pop in at any point, just please do, and I'll try and reach out to him the same and make sure he's all right. Tree blocked you, Scott. What did you do? What did you do for Tree? But did you just come in and just argue with everyone again? But yeah, no idea why. Really, really. But yeah, not really. I'll brief it from time to time, says Zaveth, but it seems like we get most of these from other sources. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. But yeah, Mackie says, I used to look at it, but now I just expect the worst and play anyway. Do you know what? It's not a bad viewpoint to have, if I'm being honest with you. That's often the way. But yeah, I think if I'm being honest, the reason I started the stream off today in the way that I did is, like I said, I'm kind of a little bit bummed that uh, we haven't seen the shift in CIG in the way that we wanted things. What I was really hoping we would get is something of a shift, mainly because we should get something like, what's the words I'm looking for here? With 323, we saw a massive change in intentions from CIG. We saw a massive uplift in what they wanted to do. They were getting a lot more optimistic about the roadmap and what they could change. And at least this time, we knew they were justified in doing so, because they've been bringing a lot of staff back across from Squadron, and you would expect their work rate to go up, especially now, because what they're doing is they're not having to design stuff from the ground up. What they're doing is they're just porting over features and making sure it works in multiplayer, which is not as simple as it sounds half the time, but it is at least faster than doing it the other way. I was hoping that we would get either a far bigger success rate on the features that were going to be committed from the outset, or a faster or a better kind of delivery to timescale. I was kind of, I guess, naive enough to kind of hope for both. And we haven't seen either, and I guess that's a little bit bummed me out slightly. I get it. New teams need time to integrate. Get it. Not everything in games development goes rapidly, and I fully understand that. Everything is subject to change. They've not promised anything. Everything is an intention. I'm with you 100% on all of those things. I think, I would have, as we've said before, I would have been happy to see them drop a third of those off and deliver it quicker, because that would have, potentially set some nice groundwork for, hey, we said we were going to deliver all these things. We hit it on time. We gave you everything that we were after. It's only going to get better patch to patch to patch. Because the other thing that kind of stands out is, if they deliver so many features from Squadron so quickly, what's going to replace them at the end of the year when most of the features are in? Are they actually working on other stuff as well? Is there stuff going on in the background? Or is it going to be, right, now we've got all that out of the way, right, now what do we do? Now we need to start developing stuff, because they're two very different scenarios, and I think we've potentially seen both from CIG, so it could go one way or the other. So that's where I am at the minute. I'm in no way saying that I don't back the project right now. I'm in no way saying that, people are justified in being trolls. But I also think that it is reasonable for us all to accept that sometimes we just don't like how things are going, even if there's no other way that they could go. It's fully acceptable for us to go, yeah, I'm a bit bummed out by this, and that's where I am at the minute, and that's fine, right? And I'm not doing this to bring anyone else down. This is our Starfield moment, says Zaveth. Get out, you know where the door is. You are now clipped on voice mod tuner. Just look for my new username. No, absolutely, I'm uninstalling that. I'm never using it again. We're already getting a patch this soon because of the upcoming sale event. I mean, when you say a patch this soon, it should have been out last month, because Q1 patch. Just saying. I think someone else said it, and I can't agree. When Starfield came out as it did, CIG sighed in relief and decided they still had time after all. Yeah, I didn't buy any of the comparisons between Starfield and Star Citizen. Starfield and Squadron 42 is a more of a fair comparison, although they're vastly different games. I just didn't buy it. It's not even they're not even close in what they're trying to do. And actually, more excitement for Starfield if Starfield was doing what Skyrim was doing and drawing more people into the space genre. It might have done a real good job of generating more interest in Star Citizen, not less. So, because now we've just got yet another game in the in the space sim genre, although I use space sim very, very liberally at that point, that overpromised and underdelivered. And that's just as dangerous as a game that pulls some of Star Citizen's player base out for a period of time. I think they're both equally as risky as the other. Stack says, the question, are they still on schedule for the first 6 months promise? I always thought it was the true promise measurement plan. So what they said at CitizenCon was that everything we saw at CitizenCon should be in by the end of this year. The 6 months, so they said Pyro summer, about midway through the year. We'll see how that goes. I'm guessing not, given the delays with replication layer. As much as I don't like the idea, I think CitizenCon is looking more and more likely, or the Q3 patch, potentially. But I don't think we're going to get it in summer. Just how long that's going. Yeah. Not competition per se, but could have taken people from SC into SC selection progress. Yeah, absolutely, and that could have been. I mean, that goes one of two ways, right? It upsets CIG and damages them, or it gives them the drive they need to get cracking. It could have gone one way or the other. Starfield got me to re-download Skyrim, says Socially. I want to actually have fun playing a Bethesda game. Yeah, I enjoyed Starfield for what it was. I quite enjoyed it. I think the bit that turned me off Starfield was playing any of the new game stuff when I started seeing other people talking about how little in the game changes based on your choices. I think that's a really cool concept, is that your new game isn't just about playing through different choices. It's about the game reflecting what you've done previously and changing the base state of the universe. I think that's great. Just really poorly executed. And unfortunately, it's one of those things that they, it looks like, once again, it was a game that was released too quickly. They needed time. You can see that from all the facilities. Certain facilities are the same all the way through, like our underground fortresses. Or underground facilities, like our distribution centres. They're going to have to be changeable and different, and they are actually going to have to be different, because, it's just boring. And I get it. I get all the reasons for it. Everything, running to one design, so that when you go into space, everything uses one part. I get it, but it's boring and it's not gameplay. So, you take it to the point of realism, then pull it back till it's fun. Good evening, Mr. E. Good to see you. Pressure makes diamonds. Indeed it does. Indeed it does. I enjoyed the game for the first hour, then it was really the same buildings and stuff. Random generation, not good. 100%. Just go that. It's tomorrow now, says Stack. I'm heading off. Good night, silly peeps. Good night, Stack. Good to see you, buddy. And hope we get to see you during the week for some fun on Overdrive. If you are here and you have not yet done Overdrive, we are looking to catch people up in the community. We'll be running events on Wednesday and Friday each week up until 323's release, and then get people through Mission 5. You must be up to the point where you have done Mission 4, which is the communications arrays, and you have completed Security Post Career for 323, because it's only Mission 5 that's going to be carried across. So if you need to, make sure you click the link down in below for the Discord, and we will get you to as far as we can through the game, through Overdrive, and we'll catch people up. So it'll be really, really good to see you. We're about on time now, so I'm going to bid you farewell. I got work in the morning, so I need to be a little bit careful with my time. You've been watching Drinkers with Gaming Problems. Thank you very much for stopping by. I'll see you soon.